Introducing Texas Pecan Gourmet Coffee from Werx. Start your mornings the right way with a handcrafted blend that captures the heart of Texas with every sip. This medium roast delights with tasting notes of rich pecan and smooth cocoa. Our coffee provides a comforting experience perfect for any time of the day. This small batch slow roasted coffee is a testament to quality and Texan craftsmanship. Order yours today and savor the authentic taste of Texas. Visit monkeyworksus.com.
All right, hey, welcome, folks. It's going to be your SITREP. It's 3/18/2025, coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. The border. We are stepping it up big time against the cartels. I'm going to show you the latest traffic and what's happening down there with respect to the news as well. And then also, man, we're going to get into this Houthis thing. They are just poking us every chance they get, and Trump has just basically throat punched them. And it looks like this is going to continue on. But, of course, the buck stops with Iran. And where does this all go? We're going to look at the traffic headed across the drink, and it looks like we are positioning ourselves to go after not just the Houthis, but Iran. We've got strikes happening in Syria, which is very heated, Iraq, all against ISIS targets. And then, like I said, the Iranian factor, even the Brits are starting to position stuff into the Middle East, which is a pretty big indicator that we are about to go against what it looks to be Iran in the near future. Now, how does that all tie in biblically? I don't think we'll do enough to annihilate them. I think we'll just do enough to basically, set them back a little bit. But we know at the end of the day, Ezekiel 38, you got Iran, Turkey, and Russia that all come against Israel. So let's get into this. We'll start out over here. I'm going to show you first and foremost as we get into the Mini. We've got Skyglass up. That is the flight tracker I use. And the reason I use it is because it is not just a top-down look. I can kick this thing up to the side, and I can tell where my high flyers are. There's a lot of other information you can get. So many times when you're looking at ADS-B exchange, I don't know where I got the O from, but if you're looking at ADS-B exchange, a lot of times on that map, because it's top down, you'll see something doing some type of a marshalling pattern, and it's kind of hard to tell if they're flying over that area, if they're doing touch and goes, etc. So the beauty of this is that, you can certainly kick this bad dude up, and you can tell by the flight traces, really, if they're going to the ground or not. So it'll help you, in the long run. It is a game changer. And so, look, we're sitting at around 266 up right now. Military aircraft, I'm going to start peeling it back a little. You'll see there are some H-60 Blackhawks this side up here by D.C. and into the Northeast, very active. Panhandle's pretty busy today. We got some beautiful flying weather out there after these storms have passed, and so that's probably a lot of training missions around that area. Drop over. Let's look at the NAs, right? And you can see, notice the Habal balloon is showing as an NA, right? Incognito. That thing's at 58,000 feet. It's above commercial aviation traffic, but it is kind of on the move right now. In fact, these things come and go. I've got 50 plus that I track at any given point. And you'll see them, though. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. Just depends on what mood they're in that day, I guess. So, all right, air refuelers. You got KC-135s. You go down here to the Pegasus 767-200s. I got 25 and 11. Big flurry coming out of central United States right now. Look to be kind of headed out to the marshalling points. We're pretty coast to coast. Not much down in the southern side, but that'll probably pop in later in the day. But on screen 32, average baseline 25, right? So when you go back to these H-60s and you see there's 54 up, average baseline 6 to 8. So it is a significant uptick. But this stuff right here, there's probably 10 or 15 right here that you just can't add to that number because those are going to be training. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and start peeling it back. We'll start off over here in the Intel community. And the big note is LaSalle Aviation does a lot of this work. Just notice out of Okinawa, Nothing down under, but we're going to look at Australia a little closer here in just a minute as well. Philippines. All right, a little bit of activity there in Philippines, a lot of stuff in Japan. Look at the flurry of things that are over Israel, and they come out of Belgrade. I don't know unless Israel's contracted somebody to come in and do some intel flights for them. And then you'll see layers out over the Mediterranean. All right, and over Italy. Some little blips here and there over Romania, but then you can see pretty active kind of around the Baltic Sea, right? All the way up from Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, headed northbound, right up kind of to the Finnish border. And then you can see, too, very heavy along our southern border here in the United States. A couple things out of Hunter Army Airfield headed north towards D.C. That looked like a couple of recon flights going over the U.S., and then again, look, notice into Reno, right? You got Intel community going into Reno. I don't know what is in Reno, but I've also got some other flight activity that goes into that same region. Okay, so we'll look at that here in just a minute. Talking drones now, we'll start out over Japan, and you'll see just kind of in that little crevice between South Korea and Japan. Nothing down under. We got stuff down under, but it's just nothing from a drone perspective. And then notice, too, you see this going right around that little horn, right, over to the Gulf of Oman into the Persian Gulf. That's because the U.S. is looking very closely at the nuclear facility and a spy ship that is in the Persian Gulf. You can see something else out over the Mediterranean. And then over the U.S., you'll see one that takes off out of California and just goes dark right out here. I don't know where it went, but you can see headed eastbound, goes dark. All right, now we go to the sub-hunters. I was looking Middle East first because I wanted to see just if there was any traffic down in the Red Sea, et cetera. Not seeing anything at all. Very active over the Baltic Sea. As you can see, that goes right into where the Nord Stream is, where the Nord Stream was taken out at least. But you can see, look at this over the Black Sea, out off the toe in Malta, that is, into the region there. Let's go over here to the U.S. Interesting piece is you'll just see a little bit of work there out over the Gulf of America. You can see some stuff happening up here towards our northern border, towards Buffalo, etc., kind of that general area. A little bit up there in Nova Scotia. And then notice you got some transitions over to the West Coast. But see that right there? This is the same spot that the nuke sniffer was hanging out, right? So they're looking at stuff coming in around Vancouver or up there in Seattle, Tacoma. And then, of course, you can see off the coast of Baja, right? And then down along, almost following the border, probably doing a little ground penetrating, looking for tunnels, okay? So that's going to be your sub-hunters. Let's go R-135s, and we'll start out over the U.S., and you can see they are, once again, following the shape of our southern border. That's signal intelligence. Notice one, though, that goes out from Texas down south towards Mexico and disappears. That right there is calibration flight. And then notice, too, again, a little SIG intel. Looks like a little, like they just cast in a net there going out towards Pennsylvania, looking over the Canadian border. And then you see the box, right here, this box, imaginary box, right? Looking out over Wyoming, Montana. Again, SIG intel. Then we go over to Europe, and notice they don't go north this time up towards Latvia, et cetera. They go out towards Constanta and the Black Sea. All right, that's going to be Jake 17 more than likely. That's the Brits. And then take a look at the bombers. What have the B-52s been up to? You'll notice we've been heading up there towards Norway, right? Do a little bit south of Oslo. That looks like some touch and goes, and then you can see them punching out over the ocean. My understanding was we just did some live bomb drops up there near Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. But look, then they come back to the United States. That's going to be our monkey squadron, all right? All right. And then a little bit of stuff out of Barksdale, but nothing to really write home about. All right, let's talk AWACS. Saw a little blip there, a little blip here down in Australia. And then you get over to Europe, you can see him over Poland. Right, little man in the middle circle there, and maybe doing some SIG intel as well. And you get down towards Constanta, over France. Right, this is the Constanta piece. Right, over Romania. All right, now you get over to the United States, and notice down to the southern border, AWACS, down towards the Gulf of America, off the eastern seaboard. And then this one is probably supporting a red flag of some sort. But then again, here we are, Reno. What is in Reno that they are up there looking at? Okay. Again, doesn't make a lot of sense. So, all right, we're going to come back to some of the others. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and show you Australia. Now, I know the U.S. has got supposedly a carrier group out off the coast of Perth, but we'll look at the map here in just a second, see if we can see them. But you can see pretty active. All the trainers have been stripped out. So these are probably Navy P-8s. These are going to be your AWACS or your new modern AWACS with that little surfboard skeg. You can see them just south of Brisbane, breaking out over the water, and then some broken traces headed northbound towards Southeast Asia. All right. And then up here in the Northern Territory. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the Down Unders in terms of Australia itself. But then we get over here and you go, oh, hang on a second. Coming out of Scotland, headed over to the Middle East towards the Red Sea. So it looks like the Aussies are helping us out. All right, a little bit. And then you get over to this side. They are all over the United States. So, yeah, we get that. It's FMS, foreign military sales. They come over, they do red flags, etc. But you'll see out over the Gulf of Mexico, you can see them out of the east coast of Florida. Right, that little Gulf of Mexico stuff. I don't know what they're doing there. It could just be some test top stuff, maybe. Okay, now let's start kind of peeling back the news cycle here, see what we've got going on. So today, Trump is going to be in the Oval Office. It's closed to press. He signed in some executive orders. No idea what it is, but more than likely is focused on downsizing the government and basically, getting people focused in the right direction, which is good. We need that. Now, supposedly today, this is going to come out. I will tell you, Alan Dulles is the hinge pin behind all of this. But Johnson, he is also in on it. I can guarantee we'll find out that Alan Dulles, Johnson, and probably a handful of others that made their way through the political careers in the CIA, et cetera, to run those agencies were behind all of this. You may even find Hoover behind it. But at the end of the day, the buck is going to stop. Alan Dulles was the guy behind it. He was on the committee for the Warren Commission, and he steered them all the way through to keep eyes off of them. They probably manipulated documents and all kinds of things. But yeah, Alan Dulles is the godfather to the deep state. Just remember that, okay? So 80,000 pages is going to be released today. Let's see what is in the mix. I didn't even get a chance to finish my part 2. I may just sit on it in terms of my blog and see, was I right? I will tell you, it was not Lee Harvey. 100%. He was a patsy. No two ways about it. Okay. Now we get over here to this side. Look at this. Trump declares pardons that Biden gave during his final days in office are void. This, we kind of suspected, is the whole auto pen thing being used to sign pardons and a bunch of other stuff. But you remember, let's go down and talk first and foremost, who does this basically affect almost immediately? Yeah, our boy Fauci, Milley, right? And the J6 committee, as well as his family members. So this looks like they got caught. All of these are now void, and you may see, if we're lucky, some prosecutions. I still think, what always happens, we discover the crime, but nobody is held accountable unless it's you and me, right? Okay, so that's that part. You remember back when the letter was stamped or signed that said basically, I'm not going to run for president anymore, et cetera. Yeah, it turns out this is more than likely the auto pen. Okay, right here, right? Do you recognize? Yeah, you go up, you can look at it compared to all his other signatures. There is a big, no junior on this, right? Just Joe Biden, right? No junior, okay. But you go up, it's more and more of this auto pen stuff. These are the people you could see. Yeah, they're saying, now this is the interesting piece, is Trump is saying he didn't even know, had no clue that these things were even being done. I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But if he didn't, then we start to figure out who that, well, somebody else was running the White House. We know it wasn't him. The guy couldn't find his backside with both hands. So, you know, that was evident. But now you start seeing the auto pen piece coming into play, and you realize, ooh, this was kind of like a soft coup. Joe was given some ice cream and just parked in a corner. And, yeah, and somebody else is running the country. I'm just going to go back to Obama. That's probably who it was, honestly. He was the puppeteer. All right, look at this. 250 gang member monsters deported by Trump admin to El Salvador. Now, look, I'm going to go down a little further because this is confirmation. You know, I show you all the time. Global X, right? They sell their own mothers out. That is who is doing most of the work besides Omni. But you can look. This is Global X flight down here at the front. Global X flight right here. So this is a confirmation that the flights that we're tracking are indeed the bad guys going out of the country. All right. So you get over here to Global X flights, and last 5 days, you can see that some broken traces there. You'll see a lot down into Miami, down into the Bahamas. All right. And then the borders, and then down to Honduras. All right. So that's where they're going. And those are really bad people. Okay. And so we got that confirmation of sorts, but this is going to be the last 5 days, Global X. Good news. We're getting rid of them. Now, this was the funny part. We did it, and then this judge comes in, Obama-appointed judge, shocker, orders planes deporting these Venezuelan terrorists to return to the U.S. and make sure it's complied with immediately, he ordered. It was too late. They're already out. But guess what? There are more. But this is a great thing. You know, if you look, this guy right here, one of the immediate things that the congressman from my region, Brandon Gill, did was he actually immediately put in orders of impeachment against this judge. So, you know, we've got some folks out there that are doing the, you know, fighting in the trenches. And I think Gill, keep your eye on him, because I think Brandon Gill is going to be White House bound one day. He is a sharp cookie. So Trump did enforce the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. He basically pulled the trigger on that, which is going to help him basically deport these people. But these judges that are popping up, go ahead. Just, you know, it's going to be like, you know, whack the weasel, because now they're popping their heads up, making a little bit of noise. We're getting light on them. We know who they are. Just keep doing it, because now you're just bringing all that attention on yourself. Okay. Air Force U-2 spy planes flying along the southern border. Well, I showed you that the R-135s were out there. So now we've got confirmation that even the U-2s are up doing similar work. So we've got Navy P-8s. We have R-135s. And then, of course, we got the U-2. Now, the interesting piece, it's not just the southern border. If I take you back over here to the R-135s, and I was showing you their work along that southern border piece, but check this out. We go over here to the nuke sniffer. You'll see this one comes out of Lincoln, Nebraska. It hooks a left out over the Pacific. Now, the other day, we caught it, and we had the flights showing it going all the way down almost to Baja and then back. So they're looking at the ship traffic, which that makes me wonder about the Club Ks, et cetera. But that right there, right, you have the Navy out there running along those same region up there towards Vancouver. So we definitely got eyes or concerns or some intel about something coming to our West Coast that they have been worried about for quite some time. Okay, and then, of course, it doesn't stop at just, you know, airborne stuff. Radars have been deployed to the Mexican border to detect drones. So you can see these little portable radars. They drop them in, and it's a pretty cool little tool. These, normally you will pop these in and connect them to missile defense stuff, and the two kind of work in tandem, okay? So this is just an interesting little portable one they bring down. and to track all these drones. So, yeah, it's starting to kind of get real down at the southern border. I do think we're going to have, and it's just a matter of time, we'll have some type of conflict with the cartels, whether it be in Mexico or whether it be here in the United States. I think that we'll get to a point where things will start to get really interesting, all right? And that we already know they are deeply entrenched inside the United States. So, all right, moving on to this piece. Pentagon deploying destroyer USS Gravely to the Gulf of America as part of the mission to secure the border. Yeah, we got the Navy, we got battleships going into play now. This is, or sorry, not destroyers going into play. Now, when they start putting battleships out, then we'll know, oh, it's about to get real, right? So, but the fact you're putting in destroyers and all of the other military work that's happening along our southern flank is, it's a good thing, but it just goes to show you the level of concern, right? You start bringing in these heavy assets, it's because, you know, they expect something to pop off. We've got striker units down there. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of troops. So we'll keep eyes on it. All right, speaking of border stuff, let's talk about Biggs, Army Airfield. You can see a lot of GLEX, so a lot of intel flights in and out of there. One Omni flight coming in from Indy, and then you can see it goes up to Seattle, Tacoma from there. And then you've got a C-17 that came in from Tacoma as well. So it looks like we got some stuff moving around from Biggs Army Airfield up towards Seattle, Tacoma. And then, of course, you've got this flight that comes inbound from Boston. That's a national cargo. One thing I will tell you, they are still utilizing the camp at Biggs Army Airfield. It is massive. It'll hold 15,000 people. So it's bigger than probably what the current specs are over at Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay, I think they started to do it, but I don't know. We'll see. I've been watching the flights in and out to see, you know, if there's any change. ABC reported that they were shutting down Guantanamo Bay and moving everybody to different locations. I haven't seen any indication of that. So whatever they're doing at Guantanamo Bay, it looks to just be very low key. So yeah, you want to keep it open because we got a lot of politicians coming that way. I pray, right? Okay. Getting over here, you've got, let's see, this is the first Canberra flight. Notice that one's coming inbound back to the U.S. It is originating out of, we got Rota, and then another one that's going to be turning out of Baltimore, Washington, but it looks like this is the location coming in back to the U.S. All right, and then here's your Brits. Just notice, this is the one thing. Remember I told you the Brits are going pretty hot and heavy into the Middle East, and you can see right here, I mean, into Oman, etc. Now, remember, we've got a whole bunch of Navy assets out here. You start to look at what's going on. This is Iran right over the drink here. So you've got the U.S. stacking up here in Doha, you know, in and out of Qatar, in and out of Kuwait, and now you see the Brits coming into this region. It definitely looks like the Middle East is getting ready to pop off. All right. Now, we get over to the NOTAMs, and we're going to come back to the Middle East piece in just a second. I've got a lot to cover on the Houthis, okay? But this, today around 5:30 p.m., you should see a re-entry of the SpaceX flight. They went up. They're getting astronauts. They're docking currently, and then they will be coming back in. And this is the splashdown area right here. Pretty close to Florida. It's kind of cool to note that they're doing it here. Not, you know, back in the day, they used to bounce them way out here in the Atlantic, and they'd pick them up with an aircraft carrier. I don't know how they do it from here, but it looks like this is a splashdown spot, okay? Now, if you look at anything else going on around here, we've got our standard boxes, East Coast, West Coast, up here to the Northwest. Not seeing too much going on that catches my eye. We've got some live fire operations. We've got danger zones out here. This looks to be another piece of Starlink that is going to hit and land out in this spot called, I guess they're calling fallen space debris is what this is. So let me back it up a little more. We'll get over here to this side. I don't see, well, this right here, that's a missile box. So somebody is launching, looks to be temporary danger area. Doesn't give me the details around it, but that's typically associated with some type of a launch box. All right, missile firing or testing. Okay, over to Ramstein. One Canberra flight coming in from Dover. Don't see it. This one, you got a spar headed to Brussels. So that's a blue and white dignitary that's on ground. All right, we'll keep going. Okay, RCE Poland, forward operating base. I see a base commander coming in from the U.S. That one is arriving from Constanta. That could just be a fuel stop. Then you've got, of course, you've got the Brits in there. German Air Force is in there. Looks like, nope. I thought maybe the Swedes were in there. So that's your primary. There is one camper flight leaving, and it's headed back to, departing to Constanta. We may be moving some troops down towards Constanta, which is, if you get in over here. So you'd be taking them from up here in RZE and bringing them down kind of more into the mix of all of this, because they would certainly be a lot closer. Constanta's right here. All right. Let me take you on over here to this piece. Starting out, let's talk about the Germans. So the German parliament is getting ready to vote on a huge spending boost for defense and infrastructure. So this it's a data point for you, but something to take note of, because clearly the Germans are, along with many others, in that mode of, well, if the U.S. is about to back out, we better start stepping it up. It's going to take time to get there, and they don't really have a lot of time when it comes to Russia, because they seem to be poking Russia very, very frequently. Not just the Germans, but everyone. France is doing the same thing. And then, of course, by aiding Ukraine. So, all right, look at this. Macron says he will announce plans to mobilize civilians. So, yeah, bringing the draft back. So you've got Germany stepping up defense spending. You've got the French talking about bringing the draft back. You have Poland asking Trump for nukes. All of these countries that are part of NATO seem to be headed into war mode, right? I don't think it's going to include us. I really don't. I mean, maybe I'll be surprised, but I just think we're going to be focused on other areas. I think Europe is on their own. So, okay, U.S. air campaign against the Houthis continues into the third day. Yeah, we've been just basically throat punching them, like I said before. I said in one of the recent SITREPs, too, when the Houthis had popped a couple of things off, trying to take out U.S. carriers, et cetera, in the region, that's not going to sit well with Trump. Trump's going to basically thump them, and it's exactly what we have coming. So they're about to learn a very valuable lesson. Now, you get over here, as you talk about this air campaign, just take a look at the Navy assets that are in the region. This, you can go all the way up to the top corner of our map there. That's going to be over on the far side, the Mediterranean. You can see we've got a lot of assets there. We've got them stacked up in the Red Sea, all the way over into the Persian Gulf, et cetera. So we've got a very large presence when it comes to our Navy. Now, let me do this. I'm going to take that one away. I want to show you another piece, too. One of the things you want to focus on, remember I mentioned we had some stuff with Australia, but I don't even see that on the map, so maybe it's not there yet. But it was talking as if it was active, and we were doing exercise stuff down there with them, and had been, but I don't see anything there. Now, what I do see is off the coast of Asia. I see our little green blip there right in the middle there of the Red Sea. But then look at the United States. How many assets we actually have home right now? Is that because we're worried about stuff here domestically? Or are these things about to go back out? Well, time will tell, but keep our eye on that. That is a lot of hardware parked here in the United States. Okay, and then if we start talking about what the Houthis have done, there's an estimate that just this year alone, they've already done $250 billion in damages. And you can see the proximity, where they are basically residing inside of Yemen. But you look at all the red dots, that's where the Houthis have basically hit vessels out there. Sank ships, put holes in hulls, whatever it may be. But this is where it's all happening. There's that little pinch point kind of between Djibouti and Yemen that seems to be, easy targets for them. So eyes on that piece, because I think that is, I don't know. I think this is going to be the spot that we're going to see a lot of examples being made, honestly. Okay. Iran-backed Houthi rebels target U.S. aircraft carrier group twice now. U.S. officials say strikes did not come close to hitting the warships, but still, hey, it was intent. All right. You can see there's just an image of the Truman that's out to sea. But twice in 24 hours that they came after him. And so it says here, Houthis claim the attacks were in retaliation to recent U.S. airstrikes that killed 53 people in Yemen. And then the strikes come as rising tensions in the Red Sea, where Israel remains on high alert for potential missile strikes. Yeah, the Houthis aren't just hitting stuff in the Red Sea. They're popping things all the way up into Israel. So, again, this is, I think where we have to keep our eyes on right now. We're probably going to see this escalate. Iran is backing the Houthis, and that's where it starts to get really interesting. Trump warns Iran. He says, any shots fired by the Houthis, you will be held responsible. And he says, Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. So Trump is not pulling punches, and he's going to hold them accountable. And you can see there's some launch operations coming from CENTCOM out off of their X account. So, all right. Now, again, we're not just hitting areas inside Yemen. You've got this ISIS guy, right? This Abu Khandajah, right? I don't know how, maybe I pronounced that, maybe I didn't. I don't really care. The dude, they all look the same. Have you noticed that? But it says that they assassinated this ISIS second in command. And this was a target. You can see this. It's actually coming in pretty hot, takes them out. And peace through strength, as they say. So, yeah, this, we start looking at what's going on in Syria. You start looking at what's going on all around the Middle East, Iraq. ISIS seems to be coming back in strength. So, again, I think we're just going to start to see us expand, going after ISIS, going after the Houthis. And then you will see Israel going after Hamas and Hezbollah. That's the way I think this is going to play out. All right. Well, look, that's going to do it for our SITREP today. Just eyes on the Middle East. I think things, as always, seem to point back to that region, and it seems like we have gotten a lot of assets headed in that direction and around that region, which is a pretty good indicator the United States is getting ready to get jiggy. All right. So that's it, you guys. Keep that powder dry, stay frosty. We'll see you on the other side. God bless. Monkey out.